out now on Arrow Video, on Blu-ray from Arrow Video, is the 1984 coming-of-age comedy 16 Candles, written and directed by John Hughes and starring Molly Ringwald and Anthony Michael Hall and a young Jamie Gertz and a lot of people. A whole Paul Dooley, Max Showalter, the kids, they're crazy for the Max Showalter. This is a film I had seen in the theater when I was 10 years old, as a matter of fact, and I really liked it at the time. It was a very funny movie, and it spoke, even to somebody who was younger than 16 Candles, I was 6 candles shy of the title age there. It spoke to me in terms of, you know, being young and growing up and coming of age and relationships and love and bullies and social cliques and all the stuff that John Hughes seemed to know so well. So we have this Blu-ray. This is XX years later, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. We don't deal with numbers here, but that's math, not in a quarantine. It's fun to see this again. I've not seen this movie probably since it was on cable, or maybe when it first hit DVD, I borrowed it from somebody. But I saw it in the theater. I saw it on HBO endlessly, probably a year later, and lines and moments were burned into my brain and my family's brain. And most people of my age, there are certain things you can say or do that will elicit a reaction because they saw 16 Candles. So new 4K scan of this film. It's Arrow, so you know it's going to look and sound good. This is one of those things where I can say I have never seen this movie looking this good. And I saw this in the theater. This movie didn't look this good in the theater. It's not like they altered it in any way. It's just it's a beautiful transfer of this film. It doesn't feel as old as it is because it doesn't look as old as it is. So the story is Molly Ringwald she wakes up, it's her 16th birthday, she's in a house full of nut jobs. Not really, they're nice people, they mean well. It's just that her older sister is about to be married. They're a few days away from the wedding, so the family is obsessed with getting this wedding happening. The grandparents are visiting from out of town. It's just craziness, and she happens to be having this turning point birthday in the middle of all of it, and nobody pays much attention to her. So she's young, she's awkward, she wants to date the pretty hot guy in class who has no idea who she is, and she's just trying to get her way through this day or week of her birthday and of the wedding, and you know, find herself in life. What was interesting to me watching this again is I always thought this movie it's Molly Ringwald's character and what she goes through. It's actually very much an ensemble film. You spend a lot of time with a lot of different people, and I was surprised at one point we were watching Anthony Michael Hall's character, Farmer Ted he is called, how much time is spent with him in this movie. It's as much his story as it is Molly Ringwald, and some of the other characters. It's still funny. Now, maybe you had to be there for some of it. I don't know. There are certain things in this film that I know a lot of modern people who want to pick apart old films like to attack about how it's sexist, it's racist, it's terrible, it's all this. I don't know. I just found it funny. I think the things that are attacked on this movie, if you actually look at it, the character of Long Duck Dong as a Chinese man, maybe that's not the most sympathetic portrayal. You're not going to find one like that now, probably. But ultimately, he's a happy guy, and he comes out on top on that film. He does pretty well for himself. The Anthony Michael Hall character, yeah, he's a sexist little twit, but in the end, I think he sees the error of his ways. I think all the characters do in this film. So the majority of the characters you may want to poo-poo for what they're doing in the film, in the end, I think emerge as better people when all is said and done. The music is really good. The casting is fantastic. Paul Dooley as the father is wonderful. The grandparents are pretty hilarious. Just everybody in it. And it was really fun to see again. This is one of those things where I like Weird Science, which Arrow also released not that long ago. I come at it having seen it a long time ago and not really watched it since, and I'm like, as a theoretical adult, am I still going to like this movie? Is it still going to be funny? Am I going to find offense with some things? And happy to say the answer is no. I guess I haven't grown up a bit since I was 10 years old because I still think those movies are very funny. This presentation is pretty amazing on this Arrow disc. So yes, the transfer is great, we know that. You get multiple audio options. You have the original stereo soundtrack, 2 speakers back then, or surround sound back then. You have a 5.1 soundtrack. You have the original home video audio. So when this movie came out on home video, there was a problem a lot of the time in the 80s. and 90s, when films would hit video, they couldn't get the rights to the music that were in the films in the theater, so they had to replace the music with something else or something similar or something dissimilar, or just flat out not have music in certain areas. Some people grew up watching the movies that way. And a lot of times you never get the chance to experience that. And there's like an underground collector's thing for the TV versions of movies, the way they were edited, or the way the swears were redubbed, or additional scenes that were put in for TV because they had to take other things out, or whatever. This Blu-ray of 16 Candles does that. It gives you the home video audio. If you want to watch it the way it was heard on tape back then, you can do that. It also gives you an extended version, which has never been available before, which is an additional scene, basically. So you can also watch that scene separately. It's about 2 minutes, or you can watch it as part of the film, and you would never know. It doesn't look any different. It's just a little bit of an extra moment with the characters. You have new behind the scenes, not behind the scenes, you have new interviews with some of the cast members. You get to see Gary Watanabe, who played Long Duck Dong, and the woman who played his girlfriend in that movie, Sexy American Girlfriend. You get to see them now just shooting the breeze and talking about old times, which is pretty sweet, pretty cool. They seem like nice folks. And some other members of the cast do the same. You see a longer, I think it's about 37 minutes, documentary on the making of the film that was done about a decade or two ago for a previous home video release, and that's cool. You see more involvement with some of the cast who didn't come back for this new release, extras. Trailers, TV spots, radio spots, which I didn't even know they were still doing radio spots in 1984. One or more commentaries, I believe, on this film. So this is a loaded release. If you like 16 Candles, as I say with everything that Arrow puts out, if you've owned this before and you're a fan of this movie, feel free to toss those other versions, unless there are some extras that are specific to those. This is the one you want. So this is out now on Blu-ray, 16 Candles from Arrow Video.